So when we talk about the greatest fighter of all time, or the greatest fighter in a division, there's a few things we have to look at here. Who have they beaten to be considered the best of all time? How long was their win streak? What are their performances look like? How many finishes do they have? All these things matter. What makes somebody either the greatest of all time or the greatest fighter in their division? But who I want to start with today, I want to start with Aljamain Sterling, the man who got kneed in the face and won the title at 135 pounds. The man that many people may like, may not like, may respect, may not respect. But one thing you have to respect is his skills. Medals, gold belts, they mean something. Without it, they would just be fighting just to fight. It means something. It means that you have conquered a list of opponents and made it to the top. Not only have you made it to the top, but you're able to defend that belt on consecutive occasions. Now, whether you think he's a legitimate champ or you think that he is the greatest actor of all time, one thing you have to respect is his skills. Whether that be skills with acting, skills with fighting, skills with jiu-jitsu, skills with wrestling, it's still something to respect at the end of the day. First thing we need to look at is the performances. Is he finishing fights? How is he finishing the fights? Is it in spectacular fashion? In what round? In what way? Is it a submission? Is it a knockout? Is it a TKO? There are key factors that contributes to a fighter's game: to put on great performances, to advance the positions, to utilize their game the best way they can to come out with the outcome they want. As far as a victory, there are many key components we can look at when it comes to Aljamain Sterling that contributes to his victories. One, we can look at his wrestling, his awkward striking, his head movement, and his ability to read opponents and make adjustments. But let's just go with the two that we know that has been effective for him in the past: his wrestling and his ability to get somebody's back, i.e. his jiu-jitsu. In the fight against Corey Sandhagen, we will see Aljamain press into action, moving forward, using feints to trick Corey Sandhagen.
Minus 120, he's in the black. Sandhagen is in white.
Ooh, Aljo putting that pressure on early.
Trying to get him going backwards right away.
Pushing him against the cage and then jumping on his back using his signature backpack move. Corey could only fight off the hands for so long. It was only a matter of time before Aljamain was able to get his wrist in and get the full rear naked choke early on in the fight. Aljamain Sterling would end up submitting the Sandman, putting him to sleep and getting his very first performance bonus in the UFC. But that wouldn't be Aljamain Sterling's first finish in MMA. He would have a record of 1-4 before joining the organization. 1 TKO victory and 4 submissions. After joining the organization, Aljamain Sterling would have a victory of 2 TKO victories, one against a compromised TJ Dillashaw, former bantamweight champion, a man who has dominated the division for many years. And a man named Hugo Viana. He would also compile 4 submission victories, one against Takeya Mizugaki, a former WEC fighter, Johnny Eduardo, Cody Stamann, and Corey Sandhagen. After getting stopped by Marlon Moraes by a vicious knee, Aljamain Sterling would go on a non-fight win streak, the longest in the bantamweight division in the UFC, defeating the likes of 3 former champions, Henry Cejudo, Triple C, double champ, and Olympic gold medalist TJ Dillashaw, former champ, Peter Yan, a champ but not a champ that was able to defend his belt. Now we must compare him to the former UFC bantamweight champion, the one that had the longest winning streak, the one that came from WEC, the one they call Dominic the Dominator Cruz. Dominic Cruz would have a record of 7 knockouts, 1 submission, and 16 decisions. Dominic Cruz would have a 5-fight win streak in the UFC. Prior to the UFC, he would have a 7-fight win streak in the WEC, total combined of 12 after the merge. So the question still lingers: has Aljamain Sterling done enough to cement himself as the best 135-pounder in the UFC? And the answer is yes. With a win streak of 9 victories, defeating 3 former champions, and a record of 3 knockouts, 8 submissions, and 11 decisions, Aljamain Sterling has more finishes in the UFC, a longer win streak than Dominic Cruz, and he's cemented himself as the greatest bantamweight champion in the UFC history.